Hello, everyone. Welcome to a Friday edition of the Orange and Brown Talk podcast. I'm Dan Labbe with Mary Kay Cabot and Ashley Bastock. Gonna have a quick one here for you today. We are preparing to go to the Combine next week. We'll actually have a really long pod coming on Monday, so stay tuned for that. Here's what we're going to do today. We're going to do questions since we get to talk to Andrew Berry and Kevin Stefanski next week, and I guess we actually get to ask them questions. We're going to kind of throw out some questions that we have for those guys. Whether we'll actually get a chance to ask them all, whether we'll get answers to them, I don't know. But let's start with Kevin Stefanski. Mary Kay, what is kind of the pressing question for Kevin Stefanski in your mind?
Well, one of the questions that I will want to ask him or want to know about is, when we talked to Deshaun Watson at the end of the season, he talked about how different the offense would be in 2023. I would like to explore that notion a little bit with Kevin Stefanski and just talk about what are the plans for the offense in 2023. Does he envision it being drastically different than 2022? If so, how? I mean, he's usually not very forthcoming on these kinds of things, obviously. As you mentioned, Dan, we might not get a great answer. But I think it begs the question, what are you going to do differently with Deshaun and the offense in 2023? And what is Kevin doing in the offseason to prepare for those changes?
Okay, Ashley, what question do you have for Kevin?
Yeah, I'm going to go over to the other side of the ball, actually. And I think, like, in general, the big question, I think, for me is just what's it been like working with Jim Schwartz so far? And obviously, I think what are some of the big overall changes that we can expect to see with him?
Yeah, that's an interesting one. I would love to know. I guess, Mary Kay, I'd love to know how involved was Kevin in the defense last year, and how involved will he be this year? Will it be a step back for him? Will it be the same involvement? I'd be curious to know his role in all of that.
Yeah, it's definitely something to explore because this year he doesn't have to be very involved at all. He knows that he can just turn that side of the ball over to a person who has been a defensive coordinator for 14 seasons, who's been a head coach. Not only does he have someone that he can just leave alone on that side of the ball, he has a resource in terms of a former head coach, somebody that he can ask for guidance on in certain situations. And I think that's going to be invaluable. Jim Schwartz has seen it all. He's worked under some of the best coaches in the NFL. He learned from Nick Saban. He learned from Bill Belichick. He's got just a wealth of knowledge about how to do things, how to run things. He spent a lot of time in Philadelphia, which is such a great organization, getting to know Howie Roseman and how they do things over there in Philadelphia. They won a Super Bowl. I mean, you don't win a Super Bowl generally unless you're a really solid organization. So I think he's going to be such a tremendous help to Kevin Stefanski, but I think that's something to explore. How much does he need to be involved in the defense this year? Or can he kind of let it go, turn it over to Jim, and really focus on his number one priority, which is getting the best and the most out of Deshaun in this offense?
All right, I guess this is sort of a hybrid Kevin Andrew question, but and Mary Kay, this one might be right in your wheelhouse too. Mm-hmm. This goes back to the offensive side of the ball, and I would just like to know, what type of receiver are you missing right now, Kevin? Because, okay, so we know Amari Cooper, we know DPJ, we know there was going to be a role for Jakeem Grant on this offense. I mean, there was a role for JoJo Natson on this offense before he tore his ACL when he was here in 2020. What kind of receiver are you missing here? Like what does this team need to kind of help take your offense to the next level? Is it that smaller, shiftier slot guy, or is it like a big, more traditional number two receiver?
Well, it's a great question. And I think it's a question that is on the minds of a lot of people. And you're right. It's a question that, that we can pose to both Kevin and Andrew. I think we know the answer because, you've got Amari and he's a certain body type. You've got Donovan Peoples-Jones. He's also a certain body type with a certain skill set. And what they're missing is that smaller, shiftier receiver, the Tyreek Hill kind of guy. I think they thought they had something along those lines, at least from a speed standpoint, in Anthony Schwartz. We don't know if Anthony Schwartz is even going to make the regular roster this year. He's got a long way to go. He could possibly end up on the practice squad. So, they do need that guy. I think they need a couple of those guys. I would, borrow a page from the Kansas City Chiefs way of doing things, and more is better for them, right? I mean, go out and find a couple of fast guys. That way, if your fast guy pulls a hamstring, you've got another fast guy, so I really think that's what they need to focus on. They need that guy. You know what you have in Amari Cooper. He brings so much to the table, but he needs to be complemented with someone with a completely different style. Now, will they admit that? I don't know. I mean, as we have mentioned before, these guys don't necessarily give away the keys to the castle in these press conferences. But, I think we can all agree that that's what's missing on this offense.
Yeah, I'm sitting here, Ashley, and I'm